Roundabouts and Firewood, a mental health approach for Irish guys. Chapter 26, The Competitive Spirit. Because I worked in primary schools all over the country, I drove on many roads, from the M50 in Dublin to the N21 in Kerry to narrow streets in rural areas. Throughout my travels, no matter how small of a town I was going through, it wouldn't be long before I was driving by a GAA pitch. When I first arrived in Ireland, some of them seemed to be in the middle of nowhere, but I learned that, in actuality, they were the center of somewhere. These are fields where people assemble to watch, coach, and participate in a national tradition. A tradition that embodies the simple idea that competitions are good for human development. Throughout the country, the GAA trains students how to compete. Some kids will continue playing in GAA leagues through adulthood until the body can't take it anymore. Others will compete in rugby, soccer, basketball, tennis, and other sports. Some will leave physical pursuits behind and focus on the arts, or they might play chess or enter a maths competition. The competitive spirit is entrenched in Irish culture, and that's the reason I converted all of my engineering lessons into engineering competitions. Whenever I taught in Ireland, I knew I was riding on the coattails of the GAA. You have had the privilege of growing up in a country where the competitive spirit is endorsed and celebrated. You'll need that competitive spirit to do battle with the opponent in your head, an opponent that has been disrupting your life and on certain days making things seem unbearable. Every day you have to compete against it, and just like you would on the pitch, you'll get knocked down. What would any GAA coach, any coach for that matter, tell you what to do when this happens? Get up and get back at it. Though it will be a struggle and there will be setbacks, as long as you go after the opponent, as long as you recognize that it cannot be ignored, but rather must be confronted, you will win. In the game of mental health problems, FBIFI is victory. Chapter 27, When Your Friend is Attacked. On Christmas Eve of 2018, Cian arrived at the apartment with 2 black eyes. He explained that the previous evening he had been at a disco and 4 guys attacked his friend. He ran over, jumped in the pile, and began throwing punches. I said, "Well done, your friend was attacked and you rushed in to defend him. I hope you got a few licks in." Later that night, Cian and I were walking up to the apartment building, and standing in front of it was a group of 6-year students who Cian and I always referred to as the Red Goose Gang on account of their matching parkas. They didn't live in the building, but when it was raining or they needed a place to congregate, our front door was the ideal spot. Whenever I saw them, I'd stop and chat. I didn't always understand what they were saying because of their strong Crumlin accents, but they were always friendly. When the Red Goose Gang saw Cian's eyes, they immediately wanted to know what happened. After the story was explained, they made it clear to my son that if he could furnish names or even a vague description of the guys who were responsible for his injuries, they would go take care of them. Cian wasn't part of their personal tribe, but he was the son of the American who had always been welcoming. And these young men took it as a personal insult that my son had been assaulted. Cian would never have sat back and watched his friend get pummeled. If the Red Goose Gang ever saw someone assaulting Cian, they wouldn't have hesitated to jump in and destroy the attackers. That's what guys do. Come to the defense of their friends. If your friend is suffering from a mental problem, that means something is attacking your friend, so you need to help him. You can't throw yourself into the pile and start throwing punches and wrestling someone to the ground. With this fight, only your friend gets into the ring and delivers the blows. Your job is to make sure he gets into the ring and support him when he does. All you have to do is communicate that he needs help and hold him to a standard. Because you're Irish, you have a unique way of communicating. Chapter 28, The Art of Slagging. While on our way out to my parents' house in the summer of 2016, Kian and I had a father-son moment. We had been discussing professional basketball when he asked, out of the blue, "Dad, would you have made more money if you had lived in America instead of Ireland?" This wasn't just a shift in topic, this was a shift in mood. My son was 12, and it hadn't escaped his attention over the years that when we went back to America, I was able to pay for the entire trip by conducting workshops for just a few weeks. He had long been able to do the math, and now he wanted to know what would it have been like if I had earned that type of money 52 weeks out of the year. Yeah, the truth is I would have made a lot more money had I lived in the States, but by staying in Ireland, I got to raise you. Kian, without hesitation, responded, "Well, you've done a shite job doing that. You should have moved back to the States to build up your bank account." This was yet another example of something that I observed when I arrived in Ireland. Irish fellas like to slag other fellas. The closer the Irish guys are, the more they do it. I grew up in an environment similar to this, but that time is now gone. Still, it was similar but not the same. Irish guys make an art out of slagging. If you have a good sense of humor, you're in for plenty of laughs. If you have a quick wit, which Irish guys are trained to have, you are in for more laughs. Whenever I hear a group of Irish fellas slagging each other, putting each other down at every turn, I think, now that's a close circle of friends. Slagging is a form of communication that will work when a mental health issue needs to be addressed. It's a way to communicate without appearing serious, but actually being serious about a friend needing to address his mental health issues. What do you need to slag your friend about? You need to slag him about not taking action. You need to slag him about not working hard enough. At your disposal is the ability to combine humor, compassion, and ridicule to get your point across. Chapter 29, The Cultural Advantage. As an Irishman, you have it all. Unique friendships, action-oriented culture, competitive spirit, the duty to jump in when your friend is attacked, the ability to communicate with humor, compassion, and ridicule. You don't need to change. You need to call upon the weapons you already have. Your culture gave them to you. Now show your appreciation by using them. Let's go.